Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name's Lori. I am the communications coordinator with the Colorado Sierra Club. I've been working in nonprofit communications for about 3 years now, and with Sierra Club for a little over a year. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly Pope. I am the Our Wild America organizer with the Sierra Club, and been doing a lot of rapid response work on some of our federal actions that have been happening, and excited that you guys are here to learn a little bit more about how we do this work and help us resist.
All right. Okay, a quick question before we begin. For anyone in person or joining us via webinar, who has volunteered with the Sierra Club at any point before?
Please raise your hand if you're on the webinar.
Great, looks like we've got a couple out there. So the point of today's presentation is to present all potential rapid response action team team members with the plan as it stands today for the action team. And after today, we will get started with our action team. So please write down any questions or comments you have about the plan. And after today, we'll take those comments and feedback, and we will get started. So once again, these are things, the methods that will be employed by the action team are things that many volunteers have done before, and now with the action team, they will be done in a more strategic, organized way in order to, as Kim said, resist and make a point. And also as a note, this presentation will be made online afterwards, all the slides.
And the recording.
And the recording, thank you.
Do you want to go back?
So just to show the agenda once more, we'll go through the goals and structure of the team, the makeup and responsibilities, tactics and methods, and lastly, questions. This presentation will take no more than an hour. We'll talk for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and the rest of the time will be devoted to questions.
Okay, so first up, we're going to talk about the goals of this team and how we're going to structure the team. Okay, so a rapid response action team. The idea is to have a bunch of volunteers that are ready to make a political statement, but we want it to be targeted to a particular recipient or to a particular audience, and we want to do this in a way where we can measure the outcomes. As you've all noticed, it's getting a little bit harder every day to keep up with all of the actions that are happening that are coming out of Washington. And so we want to employ this action team right now so that we can act quickly and in an organized way to any of these things that happen to come up. We want to send a message to both our elected leaders and to the public. Okay, so the idea is we're going to make a strong statement through many statements. In order to prioritize where we get started, we're going to begin with federal issues. We're going to be looking at Colorado senators and congresspeople. But as this progresses, we'll be able to adjust and see what issues are most effective and go from there. Over time, we'd like to focus on more issues than just federal. We'd like to look at some state and local issues as well. And we also want to pick issues that have a clear winnable target and a clear strategy. Okay, so the way the team is going to be structured, we're going to have several members of the team, starting with the leader, which at the moment is Sam. But we definitely want this to grow, and so if you're interested in becoming a leader of the action team, please let us know. The leader is then going to have at least 10 members on the team with a couple Sierra Club staff to support the effort. Eventually, once we get started, we're going to want a manager for each tactic, and we'll go into the tactics here in a couple of minutes. Someone to manage all of the data that we collect. We need an editor for our LTEs, which is letters to the editor, and we need some hosts to start. We need hosts for people to get together and start writing postcards. We need someone who's willing to have people over and plan a location for that. Okay, the way this is going to work then is someone at the Sierra Club, one of the support staff, is going to relay the message that needs to be delivered, the appropriate tactics, and the quantitative goals to the action team leader. For example, Sam, we need 12 letters to the editor to the Denver Post in the next 48 hours. The action team leader is then going to relay all of that information to the team members by using either a mass text, an email, or on the Facebook group, which is where we'll have discussions, and we'll talk about that again in a little bit. Depending on the action, there may be templates or scripts that might be relevant. The team members are then going to take specific action using a coordinated message. So the message here is important. Depending on the tactic, it might not be the same language verbatim that everyone's going to use. In other cases, it might be. So if you're posting something or if you're writing a letter, for example, you're definitely going to want to tailor that and make it more tailored to your particular story. After going through this, you're going to report back on a Google form, which I will show you on the next slide. And then the action team leader is going to update the rest of the team on our progress when we get to a third of the way into our goal, 2/3, and then finally 100% into our goal timeline. Okay, so the report back form is a very simple Google form, and the reason we want everyone to use this is so we can actually collect data and we can see how effective each particular tactic has been. This is the entire form, so it won't take you very long, and we would prefer for you to reply using this form instead of simply replying to a text or to an email, again, just so we can collect data. Hillary, did you want to add anything about data?
I think just basically the idea is that it's really powerful that we're getting out these calls and we're getting out these letters and so forth, but by being able to know exactly how many calls and letters we get, we're able to demonstrate strength to an elected official, even if they didn't necessarily get that letter or call. And we're also able to demonstrate to the public that we're taking action on these issues and hopefully engage more folks to take these actions as well. So it's not just 10 of us or 20 of us making calls and letters, but eventually it's 30 of us or 50 of us and someday 100 and 300-400 of us, so that we'll really be making a huge impact in Colorado.
And if you're not familiar with Google Forms, if you have, say, a smartphone, you can get a free app and have Google Drive on your phone, and then it would be a really quick way to just fill in the form and not have to get on your computer every time. Okay, so on our next slide, so a couple more details about the team and how the team's going to work. In terms of communication, let's say you see something that's out there in the media that you think we need to respond to quickly. We would love it if you could email both the Sierra Club support staff and the action team leader just to make sure we can respond quickly. Also, in terms of commitment, we realize some of these tactics that we're about to go over, you may be more comfortable with some of them than with others. So you can opt into any or all of these 5 tactics that we're about to go over. For example, I choose to make phone calls and post on social media. Or if you don't really like making phone calls, you could opt for one of the other tactics that we have. And in terms of time commitment, depending on what you're doing, posting something on Facebook doesn't take very much time at all, whereas writing a letter to the editor would take quite a bit longer. So this could take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours out of your week, depending on what tactics you choose. There is, it's not like anyone's going to kick you out of the action team if you don't commit to 1 to 3 hours per week. This is really just a way for you to take ownership over your own action. So you can use this slide. Can you go back to? Sorry. Okay. Okay, so our group norms and guidelines, in order to be on the action team, you must have either attended a training or a prep meeting in person or virtually, so what you're doing right now totally counts. Or if you have a friend that would like to get involved and couldn't make the webinar today, we'll be doing this again, but you could also direct them to us so that they can talk to a Sierra Club staff or an action team leader. Once completed, then you will be added to both the email group and the Facebook group if you have Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, don't worry, we will address that later on. In order to make the group successful, we're going to ask that for email, you only respond directly to the action alert and keep it focused. That way we don't clutter up each other's inboxes. But if you would like to discuss something, that's what the Facebook group is going to be for. So that's where we'll have longer discussions. Also, we would ask that you please try not to use acronyms. We all do this, but try to remember not everyone may know exactly what the acronym is that you're using.
All right, so that's the general overview of the team. Now we'll get into the specific tactics that we'll be using. And right now we'll take just a minute to answer any questions that have come up thus far.
Yeah, so if you have a question, you can either, if you're on the webinar, type it into the question box and I'll read it out loud and we'll answer that question, or raise your hand and I will try to unmute you. Hopefully we can get the technology to work so you can ask your question. See any hands?
Questions going once, going twice? All right, seems like we've been awesome and super clear.
Great.
Okay, so let's get into the tactics of our team. So the Rapid Response Action Team, or the Action Team for short, will be utilizing 6 tactics. And I'm sure all of us at some point have done one of these things. And we have multiple tactics because certain ones will be way more useful and more impactful for certain kinds of announcements. So we've got letters to the editor, calls, which are obviously super easy, postcards or letters to an office, and this will be a fun kind of meetup. Say after work, everyone stop by for a happy hour, grab a beer, and just write a quick postcard. Also, Facebook and Twitter posts. And there'll be pretty similar language for them generally. Online petition signing is fairly simple. And then rallies and events. And this will mostly be alerting everyone on the action team to pertinent events and saying something like, it'd be great to recruit 2 people to come the next week, for example. So generally for all of the tactics, all of the content, we want them to be relevant and timely, and that will obviously be decided by the specific action. We won't do anything that's not timely. But for all the content, certainly professional and courteous, and the tone of whatever we're writing or submitting or whatever words we're speaking will certainly change based on the message we want to send. And lastly, we do want everything to be solutions-oriented. We're not here to complain. We are here to make statements. And we're always doing so with the purpose of achieving something. And on the bottom it says all volunteer content must be approved. With the Sierra Club name. So these will mostly be letters to the editor when you sign your name, say, from Mary Smith, Sierra Club volunteer. So whenever we include that name, we'll just make sure it's run by a support staff member, Kim or Hillary, or me, Sam. And sometimes it won't be ideal to write Sierra Club volunteer. For strategic reasons, you may just want to have your own name if you're a scientist, say. But if you do have a Sierra Club name, we will run it by one of us. So we'll just run through the six tactics now. Just to let you know, when these specific action alerts are sent out, these guidelines will always be sent with them. So you do not have to memorize these. But just to get an image of your head of the kind of tactics we are employing, letters to the editor will be submitted to a paper, generally referencing a recent news coverage or event. We will send out language generally, but it's also great to add in a personal note. It'll be more likely to be published then. We generally want the tone to be civil, and again, the tone will depend on the message. And a great thing to do here is to point out a different part of whatever announcement you're sending it in. And the criteria then will also be sent out with the action alert, but generally 200 words, and talking points will also be sent. Calls are pretty simple. Make sure you tell them all your info when you call. For example, hi, Cory Gardner's office. Hi, this is Mary Smith. I'm a constituent. I live at 1020 East 5th Street, Denver, Colorado. I'm a constituent and I'm calling about blank and I believe blank. Very simple. Once again, talking points will be given with almost all of these. And just to add in a relevant piece of info, I work at the state capitol, and I hear many calls, and a lot of people call and don't give their name or their address or the fact that they're a constituent. And when that's done, the call basically means nothing. If the person you're calling if they don't know that they represent you, there's really no reason for them to pay attention to the answer. So these are all vital characteristics. Postcards and letters is going to be very similar to calls. I'm a constituent. This is my message, and very similar info as calls. In social media posts, sometimes these will be simply copy and pasting something, which will be sent out with the action alert. Other times, it might be adding in a specific hashtag with your own message. And again, these will vary. Sometimes images are great to add. Also, sometimes personal angles on whatever's going on is great to add. Online petitions, very simple. It'll be a link. We've all done it. And rallies and events. And the purpose of the action team to utilize rallies and events will probably evolve as the team progresses. But generally, we'll start out by using the action team to alert people to rallies and events. And eventually, people in the action team are certainly encouraged to think of types of events to organize and to always work with Sierra Club staff to organize them.
Okay. All right. So at this time, we would love to hear any questions you all might have, any concerns. If you have been on a team like this before and you have some feedback, we would also love to hear any feedback that you might have.
Also, even if you haven't been on a team, but you have a lot of experience doing these kind of actions or in organizing or anything like that, you just have thoughts and ideas, please feel free to speak up and raise your hand.
Again, if anybody has any questions or comments, there's a little hand icon on your webinar. You can hit that hand and we will unmute you and you can ask your question. There's also a question box that should be up on your screen where you can type in a question if you prefer that. Or if you guys are just all super awesome and are ready to take some action, that would be great. Sure.
There is a question.
All right.
How will action teams be decided? This is from Joe.
Great.
Great. Thanks, Joe. So by attending this webinar, it has been decided that you have all the relevant info and knowledge to immediately become a member. And then once you're a member, you will be put on the email and Facebook email list, Facebook group, and you will start receiving action alerts. For example, we need 20 calls to Cory Gardner's office in the next 24 hours. You will get all of that info via email, Facebook, text, and you'll be part of it. And again, if you have not been a part of this webinar or joined in person, as long as you have a one-on-one conversation with us, we will also just add you to those lists and you'll be part of the team.
And we can have more trainings and in-person events, and if there's ever something specifically you want to know more about, we can send more info. So, for example, we have a lot of materials on how to write a good letter to the editor and such. So just we'll send a follow-up email to everybody who attended this. Don't worry, we're going to get you all this information. So go ahead and just reply back to that if you have any materials or things you want to know more about. So obviously, you can also just ask right now.
Cool. So we do have the next question is how do we get pre-approval to use the Sierra Club name for an LTE? Who do we send the email to? And that's from Dawn. think Hillary can answer that.
Yeah. So I'll be on the response email. My name's Hillary. Definitely just want to send it to myself and Sam, so we can take a look. Basically, letters to the editor should be personal in your own voice. We just want to make sure that we're staying consistent with the message, and we have a bunch of folks sending out letters about a specific issue. So otherwise, if there's letters that are saying opposite things that are going out on the same issue, you're going to confuse our elected officials, you're going to confuse the public. So the reason we're having it set is mostly just so we can take a look and make sure everybody is on point per se. But for the most part, they'll just get approved. You just want to take a look. That seems clear, right?
Yeah. And then the next question is from Catherine. What if I'm already part of a team, the Pikes Peak group in Colorado Springs? So I don't know. I can answer that. So yeah, I mean, it's great that you're part of a group. That's fantastic. I think kind of the vision of this action team is to have people who are part of our Sierra Club groups at other locations still be ready and available to help us get the word out across Colorado instead of just focused on, the Denver area, which is where all of us are right now. But we have the ability with this action team to, take responses. I'm losing my words. We want this to be statewide, so you can still do things with Pikes Peak group, and even invite some of the people from the group to join our action team, and still be involved with us here.
And one great thing about this is we have seen that whether it's with the Sierra Club or somewhere else, that most all of you have different groups and organizations and workplace things that you're involved in. So the idea is that a lot of times we're going to be working on the same things or different things. So say, for example, you're involved with, someone help me with an example, other groups, a neighborhood group. So you're involved with Nextdoor, a neighborhood group, and there's an action and you think it's relevant to the whole neighborhood. Like, share the actions, recruit people from your neighborhood to get involved, to take the action, share it on social, write their own letters. And the idea is the bigger and the more we grow and the more people are taking action on these things, the more effective we're going to be at actually getting our leaders to listen and solving some of these issues.
Cool. So the next question is from Sarah. It's asked, do you have resources to connect us with an outlet that is open to letters to the editor, or can you help us along in the process? Let Hillary answer that one.
Yes, we can't help, we can't make decisions on what's going to get published any more than you can. I mean, the outlets are at their own discretion on which letters to publish and which not. The 3 tips that I can give you really quickly for getting a letter published is to make it timely, so relevant to something just happened, which all of these actions should be. Make it local, so if it's trying to get something you're trying to get published in, say, the Colorado Springs Gazette or the Denver Post, you want it to be relevant to Colorado Springs or Denver. And then make it relevant to an article that they just published. So if you can respond to something that's actually in the newspaper or magazine, say, or it could be a magazine, newspaper, whatever outlet it's in, if you can respond to something they actually published recently, you're more likely to catch their attention. And otherwise, just send a bunch. Like when we send LPs, sometimes they don't get published, and that can be a little disheartening when you work hard on a letter and something that you wrote and it doesn't get published. But the fact of it is that it's sometimes a numbers game, and they get a lot of letters and they can't publish all of them. So we just keep trying and keep sending them, and eventually a lot of them get published. And the best other tip is just if it doesn't get published at one larger paper, go to something a little smaller, a little more local, and then on future chances.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, I think just to simplify that, if you, whatever community you're in, if you have any questions about does my paper accept letters to the editor, we know that, and we can help you with that as well. Mm-hmm. Cool. Are there any other questions?
We have a question in the room.
Question in the room.
Chris.
Is there on the Sierra Club website a place to go to find details on this, or is it going to be more through just the alerts that come out?
We can put this up on the website. We don't have it up there yet because we're just starting this team. So we want to have the training first, but we can definitely put this whole slideshow and some guides and resources up on our Colorado Sierra Club website. And we'll throw it out in the email as well.
All right. Are there any other questions? You want me to go to the next slide? All right.
So these were some of the things we had discussed today that we thought you all might have some feedback on. And I'm going to leave this up here just for a minute so y'all can look at it. And I don't know, like, sometimes I go to these or I call into these and then I think of a question like 10 minutes after it's over. So please don't worry. You can email. Sam's email was on the title slide of this, and so you can email him or Hillary or Kim or myself if you have any feedback that you'd like to provide on any of this. So we talked about the different tactics today. We talked about the structure of the team and then the process and the commitment. And we also talked about the issue prioritization to start with. So we would be happy to take any feedback on any of these aspects of the training today. Perfect. All right.
Just to summarize everything, and maybe this will prompt another question. Our action team currently exists with me, Sam, as the leader, and then everyone and anyone as members. An action alert idea will come from either the Sierra Club staff or someone on the team. If it comes from someone on the team, it will go through Sierra Club staff member and me. And once an action alert is concrete, it is sent. I will send it via email, Facebook, and text to everyone on the team with how long we have and what specific tactic we're employing. Once members take the action and report back on the Google form, you are done, and I will update the team throughout the period of time when we are hoping to complete this action. And that's that. And actions will come up every few days, once a week, entirely depends on what's happening in the world around us. And if that doesn't prompt any questions, thank you everyone for joining us. If you have joined us via webinar, we will add your email address to the action team list, and we will get started.
All right, and I think if people are excited to get started, we'll send a follow-up email tomorrow, and then I think we actually have a couple of actions that we could get you going on if you're interested, so we'll get that out tomorrow.
Great. What is Chris? I'm talking about poll.
There's a poll up, everybody, so answer that if you're looking at your screens. Tell us how you're feeling about this and whether you're ready to do this or you need a little bit more support. So check that screen out. Got 75% of you have responded, and I'll show you the results in a moment. So 3, 2, 1, here we go. All right. A lot of you are ready to take action.
Heck yeah. Great. Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for attending. This went nice. You guys are pumped, obviously. Everybody knows what's up. So we will, like Hillary said, do a follow-up with you tomorrow. Please, I know this is a very quick webinar. We have recorded it that you can go back and reference. We will send out more resources to you tomorrow. Otherwise, we look forward to, you guys helping us in our process. Let's do this. Any final words, Sam, our fearless leader?
Let's do this.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.